Hello, my name is Marshall White. I'm your host. I'm joined by Dr. We have a fantastic show today, an RV boondocking sort of experience. Fuel, propane supply, all of that matters. And many of you RVers out there are keenly aware of it. RVer conserve their supply. We have our second camera inside the coach right now, this Winnebago Sonova. And we were going to show a picture of the house battery supply, and I'm guessing it's probably a little over 12 volts right now.
12 volts should be where it is. It's at like 11.9, something like that.
Yeah, and we're gonna come back to this monitor, this screen here now, and by the time we finish, we're going to see how much energy. Our broadcast takes about 15 minutes. So in about 15 minutes, how far do the batteries drop? With just having the lights on, we might have a TV on in there, so minimal power draw. We're not even going to turn on the microwave. We just want to see how quickly voltage drops in a boondock situation. We are not plugged into shore power on this Winnebago Sonova, so this will help illustrate our point about how important it is to conserve your supplies and electricity in that case. Another great way we can illustrate this point is by looking at three doors. What do we got here, Dr. Q?
Oh, I'm a sucker for a visual aid, Marshall. So what we've done is we have recreated probably my favorite game show in the entire world. I got great memories of watching Let's Make a Deal with my grandmother. And I always like which door do you want, or do you want the box? So we're going to do door 1, door 2, and door 3. And I've set us up with your three main consumable resources for an RV. We've got power, water, and propane. Now, Marshall, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to put them in front of the door that you think that they correspond to. 1 being your most important resource, 2 being the middle resource, 3 being the least important resource. So just take a moment here.
Okay, so my most important resource is clearly going to be water, because I can only live 3 days. I can only live 3 days without water, so I'm making that my most important resource.
This is true. Water is a very important resource.
I like to burn stuff. Propane. That's number 2.
Propane, yeah, absolutely. Propane helps you burn stuff for sure. It's a pretty economical gas, but it does help you burn stuff. So that leaves us with what?
Power, and I'm scared of electricity. I've been shocked, so it's unimportant to me.
Well, it's only 12 volts, so it's just going to get your attention, but I wouldn't suggest shocking yourself on purpose. All right, so now we have laid out what we think are going to be the most important resources in their proper order. Let's take a walk inside the coach, and we're going to talk about some of the little tricks to help prolong your boondocking experience.
Where would you like to start?
Well, as you can see, we've got all the lights on. We've already taken a look at our battery voltage. We do have the TVs on, so we're running the inverter. That's a pretty common boondocking experience anymore. Most of the time when you're out and about, at some point you're going to want to watch some television, especially if you got kids with you. It's sometimes nice to just let them do their little TV stuff while you're doing other things. But one of the resources we have talked about is water. So we've set up a nice little demonstration here. When doing dishes, you've got to remember to do dishes in the RV differently than at home. At home, you fill up a sink, you put the dishes in, you rinse them one at a time, and away you go. Here in the RV environment, it's a little more actually like a commercial kitchen, in that we've got one of these fun little tubs here. If you can see them, they're just a little dish tub. So we've got one with warm soapy water, and we've got one with clean water. So we're going to wash our dishes, soapy water, and then we're just going to set them into the clean water. Set them into the clean water. And so when you've got this whole tub full of your clean dishes, they've been rinsed one time by the clean water, we would take one very quick rinse from the faucet, and then we would set them in our little fun little dish rack right here. Right here. This imaginary dish rack right here. Perfect. I didn't know I had converted. But so the next thing we're going to talk about is the difference in taking a shower. So
before we move on to the shower, so the whole idea here is, so I've got the water conserved in the tubs. I'm not just running water willy-nilly. and I guess that transfers to the same topic inside the shower. I got to be very conservative with water.
Yes, and there are two good reasons for that. You only can carry so much water with you, and when you're boondocking, it is a good idea to fill that thing up, fill your tank up, even though it's about 8 pounds a gallon. You may not get an opportunity to fill it up again. So when you're boondocking, it's real important to come with all the water you can carry, but then you also have to worry about storage capacity or holding capacity for the runoff water. So when you do it this way, not only do you conserve your fresh water that you've carried, you conserve your gray water holding also, because you're not running water over and over and over. All right.
So, got some supplies here.
So Marshall's been gracious enough to volunteer to take a demonstration shower for us.
The way I like to take my showers is with goggles, you know, because I'm scared of water a little bit, but no, I've actually taken more than one Navy shower in my life, and I'm certain that this demonstration is going to prove out exactly why I am the shower master. So first, I've got my soap. I'm going to turn on the shower, and it burns. What's in that?
Smells like ammonia.
That's my soap. So now I've turned off the water. Thank you for not spraying it.
Yes.
And I soap up, and once I'm soaped, then I turn the water back on. You're getting way too much enjoyment out of that.
That's part of the show so far. I just got it.
And in so doing, I have not left the water running. And now I'm just ready to dry off. So I've got my handy dandy Hawaiian towel here, which I brought from home. I'll lightly press the flesh, keep my girlish figure. And now I'm off and running. So I can shower 4 people. And I just did this one recently. I can shower 4 people, wife, kids, myself, over the course of a 4-day camping trip, and literally use less than a few gallons of water by just simply using the Navy shower and not getting silly with my water faucet for washing dishes. So that's hopefully that translates on video just how important it is to be sprayed with ammonia.
Absolutely. And yeah, conservation is the key. When you're boondocking, conserving all of your consumable resources is the key, because you really don't have the opportunity, boondocking obviously, to recoup those resources without going somewhere. So there are ways to do other more conservation. Like this coach comes stock with LED fixtures. So these bulbs are LED bulbs. A traditional incandescent bulb, 80% of its power consumption produces light, 20% produces heat. So that 20% is bad for the fixture, it's bad for the bulb, and it's a waste of energy. With the LEDs, it's like 0.000007 or something. You really don't ever really feel any heat from the LEDs. And a rule of thumb is you can run about 10 LED bulbs off of the power that it takes to run one incandescent bulb. So oftentimes we have people come in, oh, my battery died in about 3 days. That's very normal. From normal usage, you're going to get about 3 days out of a standard deep cycle battery. If you conserve, you're going to get about 5. If you add a second battery, obviously that doubles. We're talking about 12-volt batteries at this point. So one of the ways to prolong boondocking is to have more batteries. So 12 volts, eventually putting 4, 5, 6, 12 volts in line doesn't do you as well as having 6 volts. A 6 volt has the same footprint, means it fits down in the same physical size. It's a little taller, but it charges and discharges at a much slower rate. So 2 6 volts are worth about 3.5 12 volts as far as their storage capacity. And they actually, with 2 6 volts versus 3 12 volts, you're actually taking up less room. So, and then there are ways to charge that with solar. So if you get all that math correct, like you get your solar panel so that it is producing enough amps, recharging the batteries with enough amps, that you're offsetting a normal day's draw or coming close, you can camp indefinitely until your other resources run out. So say propane or water.
Okay, so if I'm recharging throughout the day with a solar with a solar array of let's say minimal size, just maybe it's even one of these portable units. Would I be able to plug the kids in at night and watch TV for the rest of the evening?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially just television. Like those televisions don't take a lot of power. They don't, I mean, they're using 12 volt. They're asking an inverter to create 12 volt. So it is going to consume that battery faster than a 12 volt draw would. But if you're using even a minimal solar panel, you're putting 4 to 5 amps per hour back into the batteries. So on a sunny day here in Oregon, that's about 50 amps per day on an 80 watt panel, roughly. So 50 watts is about half of a standard 12 volt battery, and about a third, I guess, trying to do the math in my head, of a 6 volt battery. So you got to think about how you consume. So have I consumed half a 6 volt, and now I'm putting it back in back a third? Eventually that catches up, and you need to figure out how to recharge. You can do that with, if it's a trailer, you can plug it in and you can start the truck. If it is a motorhome, we can just start the motorhome and run it for a while, and you can charge off the alternator or the generator. Just step on out here, Marshall. So what we're talking about also is the third consumable, which would be propane. We aren't allowed to have propane in the vehicles here in the showroom, but your propane is what runs your refrigerator, your stove, your water heater, and when you're boondocking, you're going to be running those on your refrigerator especially, your water heater especially on propane, because you don't really have 110 available to you.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess that brings us to our three doors, and which RV supply gets used the fastest and that we should conserve the most of in a boondock experience. My selection was I want to conserve water the most because I'll die without water in about 3 days. Fire, I put at door number 2 because I like to catch things on fire. And door 3 is electricity, and I've been shocked more than once. So I don't like it, and I'm not going to use it. But what is the reality of a typical boondock experience in terms of what we should be conserving the most of and be most concerned about?
Okay, so for our big reveal, we're going to start with door number 1. Door number 1, your most important resource, and we've got another visual aid here with our lovely stacking graph. Door number 1 is power. If you do not have power, you could be in serious trouble. Without propane and without water, I can still close my vehicle up. As long as I have power, I can still close my vehicle up and come back to civilization. I don't need propane or water to do that. I do need power to be able to do that. So number 2 is water, because you're right. Water is very important. Without it, in 3 days, you're in serious trouble. But you can get around not having water by using your battery power and going back to civilization and getting more water. And then number 3 there is going to be propane, which is our last option here. Propane, A, is a very economical flammable gas. It takes a long time to discharge your propane tanks. The main consumer of propane is your forced air furnace, and it's also going to consume quite a bit of 12 volt power. So boondocking in the wintertime or cold weather takes a little more planning. You might want to figure on bringing an extra blanket, some nice fuzzy PJs, something to keep you warm at night versus running the heater at 70 degrees and having 2 days worth of propane and battery.
Well, that's educational. I guess I know nothing about what to conserve when I'm boondocking.
Why we're here. That's what we're doing today. In case you knew you were coming into this fresh, we've got you set up. In case you've done it a million times, you may have a different pattern. If you have a different idea, you can contact us on Facebook and tell us how you think these would go in order. That would be a fun thing to get back with next week.
That's right. I forgot to ask the audience to make their vote on door 1, 2, 3. But we take any and all questions and comments, lay them on us. We've got Dr. Q, the RV expert. So the last thing that sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you were going to do it. I think the last thing we want to do is check that battery voltage, right?
Yep. That's right. So why don't we... all right, so we're already down to 11.8 volts, I'm told, inside the coach, and so that demonstrates 15 minutes ago we were about 11.9, 12 volts on our battery supply, and in 15 minutes we used 1/10 of a volt running all these lights, all these LED lights, and keeping the TV on. We didn't use much energy, but then again, we weren't doing anything very dramatic with our usage.
That's correct. We've only been here a little while. We have asked it to run just about everything, but we aren't running any kind of appliance or that sort of thing. And 11.9 to 11.8, if you're just looking at the numbers, doesn't seem like a drastic drop, but you've got to remember that the appliances in this coach at about 10.3 are going to begin to have issue with the incoming 12-volt power. So it isn't like we go from 11.9 to 0. You're really only going to discharge those batteries about 50% at their maximum, and at 10.3 volts, your appliances are going to begin to have issue with the incoming power and may go to check. So while 11.9 to 11.8 in 15 minutes doesn't seem like a big deal, figure, 2 hours from now, we may have dropped down to that threshold.
That makes a lot of sense that we're not trying to plan this on 0 volts. And I never knew that at 10.3 volts, that's when those control panels some of them start shutting the appliances off. So that's very educational for me. I can avoid that by just simply plugging into solar power or getting to shore power as soon as I can. So from all of us at Guaranty, thank you very much for your viewership. We'll be back again next Friday at 9 a.m. We will place this recorded video on Facebook and YouTube if you'd like to check it out and ask questions. We are pretty good at responding to those. So again, thank you very much for watching, and come on down and see us at Guaranty RV Supercenters in Junction City sometime. My name is Marshall. This is Dr. Q. Give us a call. Bye, Internet.